Hello, friends. Jump Tomorrow, Substack Jack here. People have been commenting on my vulnerability, how they think I'm brave for sharing myself. And I've always felt, or at least since my 20s, I've always felt vulnerability was a real superpower that I had. I think I consciously chose it. It made me feel stronger to be different. I was the youngest of six boys, and by being the youngest, I had a lot of privilege to see, I always say, to see how not to be. My brothers were more driven by materialism, and they were macho like my dad. And being the youngest, I was allowed to see my mother kind of being alone, making the food for them, and I supported her more, I think, than my dad. He seemed to not need as much support as she did. And so I was in the kitchen with her and learned cooking and such. And so already I was different than normal. I didn't really feel college was going the way I wished it was. The classes were, I could do them, but they seemed to be such a waste of time. I could do the problems. So why did I need to do 50 of the problems? I could just show you that I know how to do them and then move on. But no, it was a big university that spent a lot of effort getting class sizes to shrink by seeing who would leave if we, in a way, torture you. And I discovered that that's what, for me, that's what a degree meant, is that you prove you can do what these powerful strangers tell you to do, and you do it the way they want you to do it. And that makes you quite desirable in the corporate world. And I wasn't desirable in the corporate world, and I couldn't go along, and I dropped out. Having the freedom to do that, I think already, maybe it was from being the youngest and realizing I didn't have to be like that, how they were. And then in my 20s, I was working with my brothers as a kind of a second chance thing, that I could be in the family business and we would all work and make a fortune by the time we were 40. This is me in my 20s being told this. And if only we work hard 6 or 7 days a week. And I didn't want that. And I said, I would rather be retired now in my early 20s. I could make use of that. And so I pulled out of the family business. I remember that feeling, being up 5 in the morning and thinking, I have to do this every day for the rest of my life. And I just refused somehow. I had to accept the consequences. Okay, no salary. You'll never, well, I didn't want a family anyway, so you'll never have money to raise a family. Okay, that was okay with me. I got a job with them then as a kind of a maintenance man of their properties. And I would just come in when I wanted to and pick up the list of items to do, and then I would do them in my own time. I could do them in the nighttime or in the morning. That was the beginning of a really lovely experience of a life where if you can reduce your wants, if you can, you're rich right away if you just stop wanting stuff. No one has enough money if they want everything. But if you can reduce your wants, you're rich immediately. And I saw that would be a much more reasonable tactic. And so naturally I discovered Buddhism, and I got into a period in my 20s where I studied all the world religions, and I was able to read the great books. Don Quixote was so funny. I had no idea it was so funny. War and Peace. War and Peace was a great soap opera. It was so interesting. Boris and Natasha and Pierre and Andre, all these marvelous characters. But then in the middle, you'd hear about Napoleon, and you'd hear the Russian army, and what a great education to have left college and then have the time to do these things. When you're doing manual labor, you have time, you have a free mind, you can think what you want to think. Being in the trades has been wonderful. Luckily, I found a piano in my house from a girlfriend, and she had brought it over and then hadn't taken it back, and I wanted to tune it. And I had tools, and so I got a book and I learned the right tools and discovered I could tune it. And then friends' mothers had me tune their pianos, and they said, this sounds as good as the other fellow, and they would offer to pay me. It was a marvelous life of being called. I go help, and then they say, what can I pay you? That's been my whole life of working in the trades. And it came from, I think, vulnerability. And when I had this marvelous feeling of success in my 40s or 50s, I tried to think of all the people that got me to where I was, and I wrote them all letters, thanking them, telling them what part they played in getting me to where I was. And then I wrote my books, my Reasoning with an Optimist, really just as a thank you to life. And that really was vulnerable. I'm putting out my deepest thoughts. And I would have these dreams. I would be in a supermarket and I'd be naked. And that wasn't the worst part. The worst part is nobody really cared. I would be kind of hiding behind something, but nobody cared. And so that was hard to realize that being naked, there's no real penalty to it. You become free, and people just look at you like that's the way you are. That he's the kind of guy that just can write a book. He's the kind of guy that can stand up and sing a song. And so when you say I'm brave, it's just something that comes with being that way for quite a long time. I hope you can realize that if you stand up and do your thing, people are just going to say that's how you are. They're not going to hold you back. My friends and I once heard about altering the way we walk and how it makes you change. If you walk with a limp or walk with a twitch, it's for your sake, and nobody else cares. We all decided to get up from our table and leave the restaurant walking differently than normal, and no one in the restaurant noticed or cared, because people can be any way they want to be. It was us. When we got out, we were just cracking up and laughing. It was such a transformative feeling, but it also teaches that you should just be the way you want to be. You don't have to worry about it. And of course, others admire you if you're vulnerable, so that's a side benefit. You friends of mine who are suffering, thank you so much for sharing. I'm so happy that you talk with me. So far, that's my greatest thankfulness of these videos, is that I've had marvelous conversations with the dearest people. So many of us are suffering. The country, the world, the economic conditions, the friends who are afraid. We have to talk to each other. Please call your friend. Please write your friend. If that's me, please write me. Thank you. I love you.